So, I have much to share with you this morning. I was watching the news, which I do way too much, but I really want to know what's going on. And there was a senator on. In fact, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham was on. And what he was explaining is that we are in a two-front war. Using the analogy of World War II, he compared the virus to Germany. I'm sure the Germans won't be happy to hear that. And the economic conditions to Japan. I want to invite us to all be conscientious objectors in this war. Because I know that they have to do what they have to do. And God bless them for that. But we have a different job right now. Ours is to be paying attention to what we are making things mean, because that will have a direct impact on how we deal with this situation. So I want to begin by just creating a context around this idea of making things mean something. Every one of us and everybody else on the planet tends to think that what they are seeing and hearing is all accurate information. To make matters worse or more challenging, most people think, too, that the thoughts they have and the feelings they have about what they're seeing and hearing are absolutely appropriate. That's not true. First of all of us have these things that I call filters, mind filters, so that when you have an experience and you see something happen or hear about it, you immediately pass that data through your sensory filters in your subjective mind to figure out what it means. Everything's already pre-programmed in there. And chances are, if you're the average human being on planet Earth, you're going to react to what you hear. You're going to say it's bad, it's wrong, it's wonderful, or whatever else. You're going to give it a value based on those filters, because whatever pings when it goes through there is the first thought you're going to have. So what I'm suggesting is, during this very, very interesting time, that perhaps we want to rethink that and make sure that we're not getting caught up in things that don't serve us, so that we can be clear. And again, this has nothing to do with all the good folks that are creating all these new rules and suspending the economy and doing all the things that they absolutely believe they must do. Maybe they do. And the answer when they talk about it is, if we didn't do that, 2 million people would be dead. Okay, all right, well, they might be anyway. We don't know. This is all speculation. And we're going to do what we need to do. But on an individual level, that's where we can have our power. We don't have to worry about what's going on at that national level. We have to know the truth for ourselves. And the unique thing is that, being students of the science of mind, we're in a good place to do that, because we've already heard this stuff 1,000 times. And we know that it's not always the way it looks, but we have to remember that in the midst of this. That's our job. That's our work for the next who knows how many weeks or months or years as this thing works itself out. So as always, well, almost always, I've come up with a list of things to help you make things mean things that'll work for you, that'll help you through this. I came up with 8 of them. So that's what we're going to go through this morning. I'm true to my style. So we're going to, let's see if before I do that, there was someone that comes to the center that had a dream, a vision in their dream. And it looked something like this. Whoops, it looked like this. And if you think about it, that really may be what's happening. That may be it. It may be that this is our time, because this is let me go back. That's my first point, is what we are experiencing can either be a blessing or a curse, and we each get to choose. Now, some might say, well, it's a blessing and a curse. I don't play that game. It's gonna be predominantly one or the other based on how you look at it, how you deal with it, what you find in it. And are there going to be challenges, whether it's a blessing or a curse for you? It's still going to be challenging. There's still work to do. Most of it is on the inside. So whatever it is that you have to do, your job is to be as mindful and clear and present for this process as you possibly can. I remember Deepak Chopra was talking in a thing he did, 20 years ago, about how do you quit smoking. He said the best way to quit smoking is to be absolutely present with every cigarette. Every draw, all the smoke, all your attention goes on this little stick of tobacco. And if you do that long enough, you'll realize you really don't want that. So that's what I'm suggesting here, is that you give your entire attention to how your life is unfolding right now, because it's different. What's different? Well, things are slowing down. Our patterns are being disrupted. It's incredibly uncomfortable. I tell you, it was awful for me this morning not to be able to hug you. I was asked by several people, can I hug you? And I said no every time. It's against my nature to do that. I want my hugs. But I knew I was going to be standing before you this morning, and even though other people came in and hugged each other, I can't do that right now. That's not for me to do, because I'm playing this role of saying that I want every one of us to be safe. So I have to act that way, whether I like it or not. And it's a blessing, because I'm going to get all the hugs I want one of these days and do a lot of catching up. So what else do I want to share with you about this? There are other things. This slowdown is challenging us, because for the last, the major part of most of our lives, life has continued to speed up. You get on the internet, boom, 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 you go, you see. In fact, they say that our attention span is dropping and dropping and dropping down to increments of seconds, that we can actually hold our attention on one thing, because we're so quick to switch the screen or switch the station or do whatever it is that's going on. We want to keep going. We want to keep being filled with all kind of stuff and experiences, because things are going so fast. Not anymore. Not anymore. Got to think about anywhere you want to go. Got to think about anything you want to do. If you live in one of 7 states right now, you're told to stay in your house no matter what. Wow. That's historic. It's never happened in this country that we made people stay in their houses, ever, anywhere. I mean, we're based on this thing called freedom. People should get to do whatever they want. Well, not right now. Ooh. So it's challenging our way of being, our natural inclinations. It's challenging who we think we are. And the only way to get through that effectively is to pay attention and to know that we're bringing a value to everything that comes to us. And if we complain about it, if we find fault in it, if we are aggravated by it, then it's going to get harder and harder. So our job is to find the blessing. There's a blessing in here somewhere. There's a pony in here somewhere. There's a blessing in here somewhere. And I'm going to find it. There's God. There's a divine essence in the midst of this thing that I don't appreciate. And I will find it, and I will praise it. And it will make my life and your life easier. Because this is going to happen no matter what we do. We're not in charge of this mega process. We aren't. We're only in charge of our part of it, our experience of it. That's where we can do our work. That's where our healing is. It's not out there. We can't fix that. We can take care of this. And that's important. That is essential for us to keep our sanity, for us to be okay. One of our practitioners, who is up in years, was not happy that we were meeting today, and made sure Margot knew it. She didn't ask to speak to me. And yesterday, I found her walking around in the parking lot. And I drove up near her, and she turned around and looked at me and took 2 steps back. And I said, "It's so good to see you." And she said, "I've been locked up for 12 days. I was going mad." I said, "Well, come walk around the parking lot anytime you'd like." She went down to the creek, and just spend a little time quiet down there. She went to a park before she came here, and it was packed. So, everybody is adapting. And that's part of our work right here, is to make sure that we're okay. Make sure that what's happening in our life continues to be a blessing. Here's another piece of this blessing thing. A few years back, I did a workshop. We've all done workshops, right? We've all gone to conferences or things in our lives to learn things. And this was one. It was in Atlanta. And a teacher had come that is a very close acquaintance. I wouldn't call her a friend, but she's a close acquaintance, and she's a good teacher. And she was, in her message and what she was teaching us that day, those years ago, was that she had had an experience with a different teacher where he asked everyone to take out a sheet of paper and draw a line, and said, put the day you were born at the beginning of the line on the left-hand side, and on the other side of the page, put now. And maybe score it into decades or something. And she said, write down on this line the places where you had the biggest challenges of your life, where somebody died, somebody left you, they fired you. Big, the things that you thought were, life is over. Those hard times. Mark them and identify them on this continuum. And when you're done with that, go back and see what happened within the next 12 months after each one of those catastrophes. And see if you don't find that something amazingly wonderful happened in your life. And I thought, well, that's an interesting exercise, so I did it. Oh my God. Every single time this catastrophic thing happened to me, something extraordinary showed up afterwards. When I lost my business in Houston, my wife left me, took my son. I was a wreck. I didn't like myself very much. So I ran away to Australia. It's as far away as I could get and not have to learn another language. It took me 3 days to find my first real spiritual teacher in my entire life. I was in my 30s. So the worst days of my life and the most amazing beginning point of my life happened right there, within months of each other. I'll bet it's true for you too. And I'll bet it's true for what we're in right now. I don't know how long this lasts, but my guess is something is going to come out of this, individually and collectively, that is going to make this a better world. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know how long it's going to take, and I don't know how much it's going to hurt. But I still believe that's what's going to happen. So I invite you to hang on to that invisible, unidentified wonderfulness that's out there, that you just haven't seen yet, that will emerge from all of this. It's always been the way the human experience has unfolded, is that hard things happen, wonderful things happen. So that's something to look forward to if you're into the future. All right, I think we've gotten that one. Number 2, we are learning how to be more comfortable with uncertainty. No doubt. Many years ago, I learned that it's the natural thing in humans' lives to be comfortable with a certain amount of certainty and uncertainty. We all gravitate toward, not all, but most of us gravitate toward a greater degree of certainty in our lives, meaning we want to know where our money's coming from. We want to know what to do when we get up in the morning. We want to know that there's food in the refrigerator. We want to know these things. They are the certainties of our lives, and they're important to us. You see what's happened with toilet paper. All based on uncertainty. I was going in Ingles the other day, and there was a woman right in front of me, an older lady, and she went in first, and she went over to get a cart and did a pivot and went around to the place where the little sanitizing wipes are that you can get, and she grabbed it and pulled it and pulled it and pulled it and took that bunch and went over and washed the entire basket that she was taking. I saw her later. She couldn't see where she was going over all the toilet paper that was in her basket. She was not comfortable with uncertainty. When we are comfortable with uncertainty, it's the uncertainty that we plan. The trip to Machu Picchu, going to the carnival and getting on the rides. Those things are controlled uncertainty, and people love that stuff. Going to a horror movie. Some people just love that stuff. It's all uncertainty. What's going to happen? How's it going to work out? What am I going to feel? And those are fun because we all have a sense that they have an end. I bet those folks down in Peru didn't think that it was going to have this long till they could get home after their little venture down there. But uncertainty is part of what we're all into right now. We have never done this before. And all fear comes out of the unknown. When we don't know what's going to happen, it's absolutely a human tendency for everyone to have fear because I don't know how it's going to work out. Fear falls completely under uncertainty. We're finding that we need to be more comfortable. I'm inviting you to join me in finding ways to be more comfortable with the uncertainty that is going on all around us. Now, other people may not be able to do that, and that's their right. They can act out all they want. They can do whatever they want. They're not wrong. They're just experiencing all that stress that's having impact on their lives, on their bodies, on their experiences, and they keep transferring that stress from one event to the next. I'll invite you probably not to do that, to be in the moment as much as you can, to understand that there's a greater level of uncertainty going on in the world right now, in your life as well, in my life as well, and that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Who knows? By the time this is over, we may have some people that we lose. And that's got to be part of this too. And that's got to be okay, because that's where we are. That's what we're looking at. There we go. Change is always inevitable. Always. We know things are changing right now. We can see it. It's not hard at all to see that things are changing. But they will change again. What they will not do is go back to the way they were. Nothing ever goes back to the way it was. It's always going to be some different change. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying it's going to be bad at all. I'm just saying it's not going to be the same. So we have to be very adaptable to change. We have to be okay with it. We have to be flexible. When we hear the news about what has happened, we have to go, okay, I'm all right. I can do this. Even if we end up being one of the ones that goes to get the test for the vaccine or for the virus, and it comes back and that someone has it. We have it, whoever that might be. Okay, maybe we find that someone that lives close by, family member, has it. A lot of adapting to go on there. My daughter-in-law is a pediatrician. We heard yesterday that she's pretty much convinced that she's going to end up with it because she's going to be seeing lots and lots of people, and she says, ever since the news came out, every parent that brings a child in says, do you think it's the virus? And this is what it wasn't even in the United States they were doing that. So they're going to be bringing every kid, and she's going to have to deal with that, and she's resigned that she may end up with it. Now, she's got 2 kids, and she's got a husband, but she's also got a 70-something-year-old dad that lives with her that is not in good health. So they've got work to do. They've got to figure out how to make that happen if that's the case. And what are the contingency plans here? Now, not out of fear, out of having a plan. Nothing wrong with having a plan. Things are going to change. And then they're going to change again. And then they're going to change again. So as soon as you think you're getting comfortable with something, don't count on it being there much longer, because it's going to change. Because that's what we're doing, is we're identifying how much change really goes on in our lives. Usually the incremental change we've grown accustomed to is things get a little better. Things get a little better, a little better. Well, maybe not right now. Maybe it's not about finding the good or bad of it. It's just to adapting to whatever the change is without falling into judgment about it. And knowing who we are, always in the midst of that. But that's another point. Let me make sure I got everything I want to say about that. Whatever's going on will pass away, and it won't look like it looked before. Okay, here we go. Number 4. Practice grounding yourself in grace and compassion. The world's freaking out. It serves you not to freak out. But I'm not suggesting that you should, the social distancing. I'm not suggesting you should distance yourself from the ones that are freaking out. Have a little compassion. Don't judge them. Don't be annoyed by them. Sure, you know better. Sure, you know who you are. Chances are they don't have the sense that you do of what's going on. Love them anyway. Let it be okay. Because it will only serve you in your world and in your life to not find that you're distancing yourself spiritually and psychologically from other people. And a lot of these conversations happen on the phone or through emails or whatever. I've gotten all kinds of emails this week. There are bunches of people that are not happy that we're here right now. Yet we are. And I have done a prayer with every one of those emails, every contact point, knowing that they're okay and so are we, and all is well. Yeah. So be careful. Don't fall into the trap of going, those idiots, because they're not. They're just doing what they know how to do, even if it's not what you know how to do. Everybody's feeling vulnerable right now. People have short fuses. People don't necessarily want to hear your viewpoint on how things are working right now. They've got their own. They want you to listen to them. Coping mechanisms and freaking out look a lot the same right now. That's what people are trying to do. They're trying to cope with this. And everybody's doing the best job they know how. So be compassionate, be graceful in how you communicate to others. It'll make your life easier and it'll be a blessing for them. Let's see. Be mindful of how watching or listening to media reports is affecting what you're thinking and feeling. It's really easy to start blaming the media. I've gone there plenty of times. And because I knew we were going to do this and that this is not socially acceptable right now, I've been watching intently on what's happening in the news. And where I've missed something, I've had the blessing of other people letting me know. I want to know. But what I do also recognize is that after watching the news for a little while and getting off there, my anxiety level's gone up. I'm anxious. I'm testy. I'm sure Barbara could give you some other words. And I have to talk myself back down. So what I'm learning to do is put on my filters, my clear filters, that I'm not going to get things that are going to make me feel better when I do this. I may need the information, but they're not there to help me feel better. They're there to sell news. And that's what they're doing. And they're doing a fabulous job of it. But I'm responsible for my affect. I'm responsible for my thoughts that are in my mind. So I'm calculating with this information what I need to know so that I can do for you the best thing I know how. And for anyone that's watching this online, you may not have a sense that virtually everybody except family members that are or intimate relationship people, everybody's sitting 6 feet apart in this room. Nobody touched a doorknob coming in here. Nobody got a cup of coffee. Ugh. All of these things we did. There's no kids program today. There's no music. There's lots of things that are normally here that are not happening today, and that's all out of making sure that we are doing this the best way we can to support one another. Do I think anybody in this room has the virus? No, I really don't. Could there be someone in the room? Absolutely. So this is what we do. It's the happy medium. And we listen to the news reports, and we now know that in our little county in western North Carolina that there are residents who have contracted the virus. We don't know how. We don't know who they've been around, but we know this. So this will be the last time that we will have any kind of over 10 people gathering here until this thing is resolved. I don't know how long that's going to be. But Devon and I and others are working on plans that will allow groups to come in here within the parameters we've been given. We've heard sitting right here that the governor is reconsidering this, and I bet he's under a lot of pressure. God, I wouldn't want to be governor right now. And so no more information, thank you. But everything is unfolding as it must right now, and it's important for us to know what's going on, but it is really important for us not to exert a lot of anxiety on ourselves in the meantime. So that's number 5. Let's move on here. Big one here, folks. Stay in principle. Stay in principle. None of you, well, I don't think many of you are just showing up to this teaching. You've learned this. It's not complicated. God is all there is. There's only one thing happening. It's the divine. That is who we are. We are creating our experience. That's the truth of us. And we have to apply that understanding to everything that we do. That doesn't mean be stupid. It doesn't mean to be cavalier about things. It doesn't mean to be defiant. Those are all ego actions. And it certainly doesn't mean to be afraid, which is the consummate ego action. It is important to be informed, but it's also important to inform ourselves. And we know the truth, and we can apply it. So I invite us to do that consistently. Number 7, trust your intuition. There's the things that we can know and speak, and there are things that we can know that are intrinsic within us. Let's go within and see how it works. When I thought about this one, a story came to me of Ralph Waldo Emerson. It's a story he wrote in one of his essays, I think SelfReliance, but I didn't take the time to confirm that. It's in one of his essays. It's a story about 2 men. Both men go out into the woods, into woods that are known to be the home of many snakes, venomous snakes. Both men have different strategies. One man wears thick leathered, knee-high boots and carries a gun, carries a rifle. The other man wears moccasins and walks with a walking stick. What that man knows, though, better than the first man, is the nature of the snake. He's a master of understanding the psyche of the serpent. And because he has done that work, he has an understanding of where the snake is, and if he confronts one, what the snake will do. So which man is safer? Emerson suggests they're both safe. Entirely different strategies. So we've got this whole thing in our society of people telling us to restrict and hold back, to stay at home, to only go to the store once a week, to do all these things. And I'm not saying defy them, but have for you the man with the moccasins and the understanding of the nature of things. Study what's going on. Pay attention. Not to be afraid of it, to understand it so that you know what you're dealing with. There are some things to know about this. You hear about all the people that are dying in Italy. Still, in all of that, what they have released information on is that less than 1% of all the fatalities from the virus in Italy are people who were generally healthy. 99.2% of the people had some kind of chronic conditions, health conditions, that were exacerbated by the virus that caused them to transition. That's important to know. Here's another one to know. So far in all that's been looked at with this, they've determined that the rate of mortality for people over 80 that contracted the virus is 14%. Only 14% of the people live. That means what? 86% of the people over 80 that get this die. We had Terry Harrington down as a bowl player this morning. When I saw that, I immediately called Pegatha, and Pegatha said, I already talked to her, she's out. As much as I love Terry in the way she always wants to be in this room with us. She's 80. No way. Can't do it. Love you. Watch it this afternoon on our website. Don't come. I had someone else that wanted to come. They said they had hay fever and they were coughing a lot. I said, don't come. You know, you think it's hay fever. We don't know. Why chance it? It'll be on the website this afternoon. Watch it. This is important to understand. Be informed. That's what's going to make the difference. Trust your intuition. And finally, practice humanity. Many of us have extra time on our hands. What are we going to do with that? First thing we need to do is make sure we're okay. Make sure that we're centered, that we know who we are, that we're dealing with this in an appropriate way that serves us and anyone around us. And then look out beyond ourselves. Who's not doing too well with this? Who's struggling? Who doesn't have enough? Who's afraid to go to the store? Where can we help? How can we support people? If you want to know some people to support, call me. Call me tomorrow. I'll give you some names. There are people that are not dealing with this very well and could use some support. So what a great way to spend our extra time, finding people that we can love on a little bit, that we can be compassionate about, that we can give a little of our time to. It's all good. It's all exactly where we need to be. And we're doing exactly what is important for us to do. We cannot fix this, but we can take care of ourselves. My first spiritual teacher in Australia, Ken Dyers, sat me down over 30 years ago and said, in your lifetime, something cataclysmic is going to happen. And you're going to have to help make it okay. I immediately started making plans. Then I let it go because nothing happened. But it occurred to me last week, this is what he was talking about. You know, they talk about that curve and about how we want that curve to flatten and go down. It hasn't flattened. People are dying in increasing numbers every day. And the percentage, we can talk about the percentage of the population of the planet. It's a tiny increment right now, but that could change. We're doing what we think we should do to make it right. Collectively, as a society and individually, we're doing that. But it's still going up at the moment. So I invite you to join me in praying for all people. You know, I've always been the one that you treat for people, that you have permission. I can't think of anyone that doesn't want to be supported right now, that doesn't want to get through this hole. So let's do a little of that prayer work too. We've got a meeting on Tuesday night with our practitioners, and that's all I want to talk about, is how they are knowing the truth for you and for this center and for this city and for the people across this planet. Because we are all on this together, and there is no exit strategy yet for getting off this planet. Although there are a couple of companies working on it. But I think their plan is to bring people back, so what's the difference? We're all in this together. And I'm frankly grateful to be in it with you. I'm grateful that you want this to work in your life, that you're paying attention, and that you're knowing the truth of who you are. And if we do that, we'll all be together when it's over again. I love you so much, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barbara Waterhouse.
And I'm John Waterhouse. Thank you for watching this message today.
Through our website, cslasheville.org, we have over 1,000 messages, classes, and New Thought books, all to download at no charge to anyone.
Producing this incredibly valuable collection of ideas is really making a difference in the world. It's changing lives everywhere.
Please go to our website, cslasheville.org, and click the Donate button. You can support this life-changing ministry, and when you do, we'll send you a note of thanks and also put you on our daily prayers.
By doing this, you're helping to raise the consciousness of people across the entire globe. We're changing lives together, those lives that are being more prosperous, more healthy, and more joyous. Thank you for being a part of this important work and supporting what we do here at CSL Asheville.
Thank you.